Hey folks, how's it going? Realm Gaming here, back with another video. Today's episode, we are going over the Warrior in Phase 2 of Season of Discovery. We've got two builds we're going to go over. We have the two-handed build as well as the dual-wield build. So from my understanding on two-handed versus dual-wield, typically you want to be going two-hand in dungeons and on any sort of cleave fights. This is going to be due to improved cleave. And you're going to run dual wield on single target focus fights. So looking at the talents really quick, the only difference between the dual wield build and the two-hand build is going to be in these three talents here, kind of in a triangle. So on the two-hand build, we're going to go improved cleave, and we're also going to go improved execute. Then taking a quick look at the dual wield build, you can see we're going to put 4 points here into dual wield specialization. That only makes sense, right, as we are dual wielding. This is going to increase the damage done by your offhand weapon by 20%. Now going back to our runes really quick on the two-hand build, the first rune we're going to be looking at is our chest rune, flagellation here. So gain a 25% bonus to physical damage done for 12 seconds after activating Blood Rage or Berserker Rage. So anytime you rage, you're going to want to be trying to stagger them as much as possible to keep this flagellation buff up. Then on the leg rune, we will be running Frenzied Assault. So while wielding two-handed weapons, your attack speed is increased by 20%. Pretty much a no-brainer here. And it's just gonna make your general rotation feel better, right? Because as you're auto-attacking more, you're gonna be getting more rage. And the more rage you have, the more abilities that you can press. In the hand rune here, we are going to be using Quick Strike. Quick Strike is going to pretty much be replacing Heroic Strike. And the reason Quick Strike is better than Heroic Strike is because with Quick Strike, you're not having to wait on your next auto attack. So the way that Heroic Strike works is you press it and it activates on your next auto attack. So Quick Strike, we don't have to wait for that buffer. We can get the damage off. And then on our next auto attack, we can generate that rage from our actual auto attack. So it might feel like this ability doesn't do a whole bunch of damage, but it is a really good ability in terms of generating rage and just helping the overall flow of our rotation. Then in the waist rune, we are going to be running Blood Surge here. So Heroic Strike, Bloodthirst, and Whirlwind have a 30% chance to make your next slam within 15 seconds instant and cost no rage. So this is just really strong, right? Because we're able to get damage off without spending any rage. As rage is the backbone of our damage, we want to be able to get the most efficiency out of the rage that we generate. And Blood Surge, at least in this slot, is the most efficient rune. And then in our feet rune, we're going to be running Enraged Generation. And this is basically just going to put a ticking dot that will heal you for 30% of your maximum health over 10 seconds. But you can only use this while enraged. Now coming over to the dual wield side, once again, we will be running Flagellation here in the chest rune. And then in the leg rune here, we will be running Consumed by Rage. And from what I've read online, you're basically able to keep Consumed by Rage up constantly as long as you are above 80 rage. This dot will basically refresh itself indefinitely. So this is basically just going to give you that 10% melee damage bonus, hopefully indefinitely, as long as you can stay over that 80 rage threshold. Up next, we'll be taking Single-Minded Fury, and that's going to be in the hand rune. And what this is going to do is while dual wielding, your physical damage and movement speed are increased by 10%. And then once again, in our feet rune, we'll be taking Enraged Regeneration. All right, now let's take a quick look at our Bis Gear between two-handed and dual wielding. It's going to be pretty much the same between the two. The only thing that's going to change is our weapons. So starting off with our headpiece, we have the Tempered Interference Negating Helmet. You can see here by the Fury EP, it is by far and away the best item in this slot, and this is going to come from blacksmithing. So if you're not a blacksmith, the next best option you have for you is going to be in Scarlet Monastery Armory. That's going to be this Raging Berserker Helmet. But of course, the best two options are going to come from blacksmithing and leatherworking. So once again, going to this top helmet here, so we're going to get 20 strength, 14 stamina. We get 1% critical strike with melee and range attacks. It has an on-use effect as well, which is going to reduce movement speed by 20%, but it will increase your spell resistance to all schools by 50, and it will increase your melee attack speed by 20% for 10 seconds. This is going to be on a 10-minute cooldown. Then right below that, we have the Rad Resistance Scale Hood. Now, I know it does give intellect, but I believe the reason that is rating this item so high is due to that 1% critical strike that it's giving on the equip bonus. So critical strike in Season of Discovery is extremely strong on all DPS classes. It's very hard to come by. So if you do find any pieces that have it, it's probably going to be better than whatever else you have, unless it's an extremely strong blue or epic item. All right, now moving on to our neck piece here, we have the Nomergan Peace Officer's Torque. Once again, 1% critical strike with our melee attacks. So going to be really strong by default just because of that, but it also does give us 16 attack power and 6 stamina, and this will come from Nomergan. Up next, we have our shoulders. These are male shoulders, the Trog Slayer Pauldrons, which will come from Nomergan here. 12 agility, 5 intellect, and then what makes it really strong here is that 22 attack power. Right below this, we do have a quest item here coming from the escort quest, and I believe that's this one's in Fairless, and this is going to be the failed flying experiment for 10 strength and 10 agility. So really easy piece to pick up here if you cannot get a hold of these Trog Slayer Pauldrons. All right, then a couple options here on our cape. We have the Drape of Dismantling here. We got 8 strength, 6 agility, and 7 stamina. That is going to come from Nomergan. You probably won't have access to this for several weeks. So right below that, we have from the Blood Moon event in Stranglethorn Vale, the Blood Drenched Drape. So this has 1% critical strike on melee and range attacks. So a really strong drape there. One thing to note is we will be putting 3 agility on our drape through the Lesser Agility enchant. Then going on to our chest piece here, this is a bit of an odd one, right? Because it is a green item. The enchant we'll be putting on it is 2 to all stats, so enchant chest, lesser stats. This is going to be the Warforged chestplate. So this is actually going to drop from Badlands, and this requires level 40 to equip, and what makes it so strong is obviously that 24 strength. Now, one thing that makes this weird is the set piece for warriors. The plate set piece coming from Nomergan is all the way down here, almost at the bottom of the list. And you can see here by looking at it, 11 agility and only 11 strength. Then if we go and look at the set bonuses, 7 defense, 16 attack power, and then there's that 1% chance to hit with spells and melee attacks. So from a damage perspective, you can see it just doesn't compete up here with the Warforged chestplate. Now, another weird thing here is you will probably be trying to also compete. If you don't get this Badlands piece here, you'll be trying to compete with the Insulated Chest Guard, which is going to be the leather set piece that's dropping in Nomergan. So this is just going to fall slightly below that Warforged chestplate. So if you do see this drop in Nomergan, make sure to roll on it. Then on our bracers, we have the Berserker bracers and the Forestalker bracers, both from Warsong Outriders Exalted. And then you can see here in spot 4, we have the Windtalkers Wrist Guards, Warsong Outriders Exalted as well. And then we have the Experimental Aim Stabilizers that give us 7 agility and 22 attack power. That's going to drop from Nomergan. And then the Ornate Dark Iron Bangles that give us 1% chance hit. And this increases some spell damage as well. So the reason that this is probably high on the list is just for that 1% hit rating. What I would probably recommend to pick up is going to be these Ravager's Arm Guards, because you're probably not going to have access to anything up here unless, of course, you are exalted with Warsong Outriders. So you can pick these up off the auction house pretty cheap, and that will at least get you going for the wrist slot. All right, so looking at the dual wield first, and then we will immediately look at the Fury weapons, the two-handed Fury weapons. So let's start with dual wield first. So looking at one-handed here, we have the Mechatorx Arcano Shredder. So this is going to give us 2 strength, 3 agility. It has a chance on hit to discharge a blast of arcane energy, dealing 30 arcane damage, reducing all resistances by 45 and increasing all spell damage taken by 6% for 20 seconds. So very interesting one here. This is going to drop off of Nomerkin. So this is going to have a very high damage per second at 34 DPS with a weapon speed of 2.6. This is also going to be very beneficial to run in raid because it's going to reduce the enemy resistances by 45, and it's going to increase all the spell damage that they take by 6% for 20 seconds. So a great item to have, and this will be Bis in our main hand. Now, not too far down the totem pole, we do have the Life Force Dirk. That's going to have a really fast weapon speed of 1.6, and that's going to drop from the God Hakar from the Sunken Temple. And if you can't get access to either of those, I recommend the Sanguine Skull Crusher here. 10 strength, 6 agility. It has a pretty high damage per second, and it's also pretty easy to get for 15 silver blood coins from the Blood Moon event in Stranglethorn Vale. And then one thing to note, we will be enchanting 3 melee damage to our main hand as well as our offhand. Alright, then looking at our two-handed weapons here, we have a few decent options, right? So obviously the Thermoplug's Rocket Cleaver is going to be insane, right? 29 strength. The downside is it's probably going to have a pretty low drop rate, so it might not be realistic to get for quite some time. So below that, we do have the Blood Moon event, and we can get the Sanguine Crusher here for 15 blood coins. That's going to give us 18 strength, 12 stamina, and then that 1% chance to get a critical strike, so that really pushes it up the tier list. And this is going to be specific to the warrior class. Now, what you will probably see drop more than the Rocket Cleaver above is the Giga Chopper here, also from Nomer. Gives us 22 strength and 9 agility. So a really good sword here if you can't get access to these two at the top. But probably for early in the phase, the easiest option here is going to be the Bone Biter. That's going to come from Scarlet Monastery from the In the Name of the Light quest. It's going to give us 20 strength and 10 stamina. And I'm also really surprised to see Staff of Jordan here. I have no clue what's going on. Probably just has something to do with the raw damage per second, but I thought that was pretty funny to see. All right, then looking at our hands, we will be having leather hands for our Bis here, and we will be enchanting them with plus 5 strength. So right below that, we do have the Grubby Gauntlets that are coming from Nomergan. Decent strength, decent stamina, and then of course that 1% critical strike. That's going to really bring them up the tier list. So might have issues getting access to this early in the phase, so I'm going to recommend getting the True Silver Gauntlets, and that's going to come from Blacksmithing at 16 strength and 7 stamina, or the Gauntlets of Divinity that come from Scarlet Monastery Cathedral, and that's going to have a 32 attack power on the equip. Then in our belt slot, what I'm going to recommend right off the bat is getting this hyperconductive gold wrap. So this is going to give you 1% hit, 1% critical strike, and it's going to give you an on-use effect that lets you pull a coin from your belt. And on a roll of heads, you get 3% critical strike. On tails, you get 10% movement speed for the next 30 seconds. So the advantage of this is that you can get access to it very early in the phase. Unlike these other three, we have the Dark Vision Girdle, which is going to come from Nomer, the Belt of Trog, which is going to come from Nomer, and then the Skullduggery Waistband, which will also come from Nomer. Just to quickly go over the Dark Vision Girdle here, it does give stamina and intellect, but it gives you 24 attack power and that 1% hit chance. So a very strong item, and it will be our Bis. All right, so going into our leg slot here, we have the insulated leg guards. We have the electromantic legs, we have the hazard legs, and these are all going to be set pieces that come from Nomer. Now, like we were saying earlier, set pieces are pretty weak for us in this phase, so we're not going to be focusing around set bonuses here. We're just pulling these for the raw stats. So you can kind of see here, right, the insulated leg guards are going to give us the most stats, or give us that strength, that agility, and that 1% hit. Now, I do understand that these three might be difficult to get a hold of early in the phase, so we're going to recommend going to Searing Gorge and the Hinterlands for the leg plates. They give identical stats here, except one is plate and one is leather, so we would recommend going the Centurion leg plates here. That will give 443 armor, 15 strength, 15 agility, and then once again, you can get them from these quests: Rise Obsidian in Searing Gorge and Saving Sharpbeak in the Hinterlands. All right, then our boots, we're going to be putting 3 agility on them. So the enchant boots, lesser agility. And going into it here, the best part about the boots is they're going to be really easy to get. There's a quest here delivered to McKinley in Tanaris, and then we have the Black Forge Greaves, which are a world drop, so you can pick that up off the auction house. So looking at them, we got 10 strength, 9 agility, and we have 10 agility and 9 strength for the Greaves. All right, then looking at the rings here, this is kind of a difficult one, right? Because we have some rings here that are locked behind reputation, which you might not have access to. We have a really good hypercharged gear devastation here that is in Nomer that we might not have access to. We do have some world drops that are pretty expensive. And we have a Mark of Kern here that drops from SM. It's a very low drop rate. So what should we do in this situation? So probably the easiest thing to do would be to get honored with the Silver Wings Sentinels, right? And that's going to give you this Protector's Band, 8 strength, 8 agility, 5 stamina. Who knows if you'll ever see the hypercharged gear devastation drop. I'm not sure what the drop rate is on it, but purples are typically pretty rare, right? So to me, I would probably grind out the reputation for this Protector's Band here. There's another one here a little bit further down the list, gives a little bit different stats. I don't know if you can equip both of them. They're unique equip and they're named the exact same things. So I don't know if you can equip both of those. If you can, that would be a good route to go. But if not, I'd probably come down here to Falcon's Hook. Looks like it's got sells for about an average of a couple gold on the auction house, so should be pretty cheap to pick up. Or if you are lucky in SM Graveyard, there is the Iron Spine's Eye. So once again, just kind of going through the list here, we have Protector's Band, 8 strength, 8 agility, 5 stamina. The Hypercharged Gear Devastation, 7 strength, 8 agility, 10 stamina. The Assault Band, 7 stam, 20 attack power. Mark of Kern, probably not even going to go over it because it's such a low drop rate, but 20 attack power. We have a world drop here, the Thunderbro Ring, 3 agi, 8 strength. We have another Protector's Band that gives 6 strength, 6 agi, 4 stamina. We have the Iron Spine's Eye, which gives, 9 agility, 4 strength. Kind of see it there. And then we have the Falcon's Hook here that gives 3 strength, 9 agility. All right, then looking at the trinkets here, you only have 2 options in the entire game. The Uromatic Experiment 420B, 10 frost resistance, has an on-use effect to increase your attack speed by 5%. And then the equip is plus 18 attack power. That's going to drop from Nomer. And then we have the Avengers Void Pearl, 10 shadow resist, 18 AP, and that dropped from a BFD. So hopefully you're able to get a hold of that one. All right, now taking a look at the range slot here. Once again, kind of a weird slot. We got a lot of things that are either expensive world drops or that have dropped from BFD or just super rare like this monolithic bow from Old Dominion, right? Gives good stats, but it's a 0.1% drop chance. So what I would probably recommend to do is it kind of depends on how much gold you have. I would probably recommend farming out some gold, just doing some quests, and then buying the silencer here for 14 attack power off of the auction house. If you don't have the gold, you can farm out Nomer and get this high-tech super gun, and this is going to give us 12 attack power. Outside of that, we do have a couple options here from BFD, but probably going to be a little bit difficult to find groups to kind of farm these out. Decent drop chance, right? 17%, 12%. But I'm not sure if you want to go back and spend time to farm those out or not when there are better options up here. You could just do a few quests, right? Buy the silencer weapon. You could buy Swift Wind here for 7 agi. So I would probably recommend to just either farm out some gold or just test your luck in Nomer. I'm sure one of these will drop eventually in one of your runs. All right, guys, that's pretty much it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel, and we will see you all in the next one.